Picture this. It's 1970, and Toyota is ready to shake things up. They roll out the original Celica, and man, was it a breath of fresh air. Their goal was clear: to create an affordable sports car that could appeal to younger buyers without breaking the bank. They were essentially taking a page from the Ford Mustang's playbook, putting a sleek 2+2 coupe body over a compact sedan platform, but with thrifty four-cylinder engines instead of V8s. This approach was a strategic adaptation of a successful American automotive concept, but with a distinct Japanese twist. You won't believe this, but some even called it the Celica Mustang because of its striking resemblance to the Ford Mustang Fastback, especially the liftback version. Public and press reception was overwhelmingly positive right from the start, and this positive reception was crucial because it helped Toyota build a reputation as makers of affordable, practical cars. The sportier GT model, released in 1974, even led the Celica to win Motor Trend's Import Car of the Year award that year.
Motor Trend magazine's 1976 Import Car of the Year, the Celicas from Toyota.
Under the hood, the first Celica for North America, the 1971 ST, packed a 1.9-liter 8R engine, producing 108 horsepower, 117 pound-feet of torque, and later switched to a 2-liter 18RC engine with 97 horsepower and 106 pound-feet. Here's what I think. The real game-changer was the 2.2-liter 20R engine that came in for 1975. This early focus on durability, even in a sports car, became a core brand pillar. In 1973, Toyota actually coined the term liftback to describe the Celica. This design offered the practicality of a hatchback with the sleek lines of a coupe, becoming a hallmark of the Celica. As for rivals, it was up against cars like the Alfa Romeo GTV, the Ford Capri, and even other Japanese contenders like the Datsun 510 and Mazda RX-3.
I've compared all the new cars but one. Toyota, what do you got?
The Toyota Celica GT Liftback, still the car of the 80s. The new Celica, it puts the fun of driving back in style.
Toyota, you've got it.
You asked for it. You got it, Toyota.
Then came the second generation in 1978, and Toyota decided to switch things up visually. The soft, swoopy, elegant contours of the first gen gave way to a more aggressive, angular design. While it was well accepted for its time, I gotta say, it doesn't quite have the timeless appeal of the first one. Power-wise, it started with the trusty 2.2-liter 20R engine, but halfway through they bumped it up to a 2.4-liter 22R engine, giving it 97 horsepower and more torque. This generation continued to rake in awards, including another Import Car of the Year from Motor Trend. But here's the really big news for this era: the birth of the Celica Supra. It first appeared in 1979, styled after the Celica liftback, but a touch longer and wider. Its distinguishing feature? A 101 horsepower 2.6-liter 4ME inline-6 engine, which was Toyota's first production engine with electronic fuel injection. This was a big deal. It even offered four-wheel independent suspension and four-wheel disc brakes as standard. This was clearly Toyota's answer to the Datsun 280Z, aiming for a more luxurious, grand tourer experience. In 1981, the Supra got an even beefier 145 horsepower, 5 MGE, 2.8-liter inline-6, and could hit 60 miles per hour in around 11 seconds, with a top speed of 110 miles per hour. But coming back to Celica, the original rear-wheel drive charm of these early Celicas is just undeniable. They really nailed that pony car vibe, without being unattainable. Alright, so the third-gen Celica, launched in 1982, was a huge departure. Toyota made a shocking paradigm shift in design philosophy. Seriously, there were no carryover styling cues. This was a bold move, and honestly, it gave the car a really sharp, distinctive look for the 80s. The fact that this generation, particularly the GTS and the rare convertibles, is now highly valued in the classic car market demonstrates that this design risk ultimately paid off in terms of long-term appeal and collector desirability. What do you think? I mean, in 1984, they even got pop-up headlights with a facelift. Under the hood, Toyota gave it a fuel-injected upgrade, the 105 horsepower 22RE engine. This generation also saw the introduction of the Celica GTS in 1982, which became a standalone model in 1984. The GTS was the performance variant, rocking larger wheels, a sport-tuned suspension, and aggressive styling that even shared some elements with the Supra. Speaking of the Supra, it was completely redesigned for its second generation, still technically the Celica Supra until 1986, and it was offered in two trims, the luxury-oriented L-Type and the performance-focused P-Type. This generation of Supras are actually considered a great value today, with interest on the rise. Now, for us rally fans, this was a super exciting time. The Celica, particularly the GTT, became a homologation special for Group B Rally. It went on to win the 1982 Rally of New Zealand, and between 1983 and 86, it dominated, winning all 6 WRC events it entered in Africa. That's an incredible track record. This consistent success in a challenging rally environment established the Celica's credibility and Toyota's capabilities in motorsport. This era of Toyotas were also known for top-notch build quality, so you generally didn't find many standout problems.
You know, there's lots of reasons I bought my new Toyota Celica. In the daytime, its 135 horsepower makes me feel real special. And at night, boy, do I look good.
The Toyota Celica GTS.
Now this is where things get really interesting, and for some, a little controversial. Introduced in 1986, the fourth-generation Celica brought the most significant change in its entire production history. It switched from its beloved front-engine rear-wheel drive layout to front-wheel drive. Can you imagine that? For many, this was a huge shock. This move was a massive, controversial decision that fundamentally altered the Celica's identity. This shift kind of confused its target market, you know? Its styling also left a lot of people feeling a bit underwhelmed. But interestingly, performance enthusiasts in Europe actually gravitated towards front-wheel drive. It was a real dividing line. But here's the silver lining, and it's a big one. This generation also saw the birth of a true legend, the Celica GT4. This was Toyota's answer to keeping the performance crowd happy. The GT4, also known as the All-Track Turbo in the US, was a high-performance, rally-bred model that packed a turbocharged 3S GTE engine and a full-time all-wheel drive. This was a game-changer, bringing WRC-style grip and serious turbocharged punch to the streets. Its 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine produced around 190 horsepower. Performance figures were impressive. 0 to 60 in 7.3 seconds, a quarter mile in 15.6 seconds, and a top speed of 135 miles per hour. It was a beast. It went on to win 13 WRC series, and it was Toyota's first Japanese car to use four-wheel drive in the WRC, and it went head-to-head with formidable competitors like the Lancia Delta HF. This actually paved the way for other Japanese manufacturers like Mitsubishi and Subaru WRX to enter and eventually dominate the WRC. Its success wasn't just about Toyota. It legitimized Japanese automotive engineering on the global motorsport stage, fundamentally altering the competitive landscape of rally racing for decades to come.
Hey, the new Celica's the talk of the town. In New York, it's almost as popular as I am. Check out the dual-mode four-wheel steering. Who will be the first to take a ride in the new Celica?
Moving into 1990, the fifth-generation Celica hit the scene, and Toyota introduced its new organic styling. This meant flowing lines and rounded corners, which they said would improve strength and structural integrity while keeping the weight down. While this new style was copied by other manufacturers, it actually polarized opinion, especially in Australia. But hey, despite that, the car was still a moderate success and got good reviews from the motoring press. The underlying performance, especially from the GT4, and Toyota's growing reputation for reliability were strong enough to overcome aesthetic preferences for many buyers. This generation also brought some cool tech, like Toyota's first-ever dual-mode four-wheel steering system. And for the true performance junkies, the GT4 was absolutely epic. It was produced from 1989 to 1993. Its 2-liter turbo inline-4 engine was even more advanced, with an air-to-air intercooler and a twin-entry turbo. In Japan, it cranked out 222 horsepower, and the US spec all-track turbos got around 200 horsepower, making it the most powerful Celica ever sold in the US at the time. And the rally success? Oh man, this was the golden age. The GT4 was a WRC powerhouse. It won 16 full WRC series and secured multiple drivers' titles. Toyota also bagged the WRC manufacturers' titles in 1993 and 94. This was Toyota's most successful rally car for over 2 decades. This level of sustained, high-profile success in a globally recognized motorsport cemented the Celica's global image as a serious performance contender. To meet homologation requirements, Toyota released 5,000 units of the special GT4 RC in 1992, which featured a water-to-air intercooler and a different hood. These are super rare and highly desirable now. The sixth generation, introduced in 1993, was an evolution of the previous model. It refined the organic design further, especially in the headlight treatment, giving it a sleek, modern look. Of course, the star of the show was still the GT4, built from 1994 to 99. This was the most powerful Celica ever produced, with an updated 2-liter engine pumping out 239 horsepower in export models and a whopping 252 horsepower in the Japanese market. It featured an all-aluminum hood for weight reduction, 4-channel ABS, an improved turbo, and Toyota's Super Strut suspension, and could hit 60 miles per hour in just over 6 seconds. For rally homologation, 2,500 GT4 WRC units were built with additional features, like plumbing for an anti-lag system and a water spray bar for the intercooler. These are now highly desirable collector's models. Now here's the part that still makes me cringe a little: the WRC ban. Despite its incredible potential, it only managed to get one WRC victory before a major scandal hit. In 1995, FIA officials discovered that Toyota was using illegal turbo restrictor bypasses, a most sophisticated device according to FIA President Max Mosley. Toyota engineers had mounted the restrictor in a way that it would slightly move from its original position, allowing more air into the turbocharger when the car was running. This was, of course, prohibited. As a result, Toyota and its drivers had their championship points removed. This led Toyota to abandon its manufacturer efforts in World Rally with the Celica. It also forced Toyota to pivot, eventually leading to the successful WRC Corolla. What do you think? Was the WRC ban fair? I mean, it was a pretty ingenious device, but rules are rules, right? It's a bittersweet part of the Celica's rally legacy, but it definitely cemented its place in history as a car that pushed boundaries, perhaps a little too far. As the new millennium dawned, Celica sales were starting to lag. The 7th-gen Celica, launched in 1999, definitely looked the part with its bold, angular design. During this period, the tuner enthusiast movement was in full swing. Unfortunately, the Celica failed to capture a significant share of that lucrative market. This was primarily due to its front-wheel drive layout, as most available buyers headed to Nissan with their 200SX, a rear-wheel drive platform. Under the hood, this generation offered two main engine options, both 1.8-liter four-cylinders with variable valve timing. The base Celica GT got the 140 horsepower engine with Toyota's VVTi system, shared with the Corolla and the Matrix. But the one everyone wanted was the Celica GTS, which packed the high-revving 180 horsepower 2ZZ-GE engine. This engine was a screamer, also found in the Corolla XRS, Matrix, and even the Lotus Elise. It could sprint from 0 to 60 in a quick 6.6 seconds. It felt almost like Toyota built a Honda product with that high-revving nature.
And these Toyota Celicas are the ones to watch out for.
Here's what I think. The 7th gen was a bit of a misunderstood gem. It looked sharp, and that engine in the GTS was a screamer. But it came out at a tough time. The automotive landscape was shifting big time. Drivers were increasingly looking for space, comfort, and practicality, flocking to SUVs and sedans. Sporty coupes like the Celica became niche choices, plus competition was fierce, with rivals like the Honda Prelude, Mitsubishi Eclipse, and Nissan 200SX vying for the same audience. And then there were the internal factors. Toyota was doubling down on its reputation for fuel-efficient cars and hybrids like the Prius. The Celica, with its rally roots and sporty flair, just didn't fit into that new direction. This reveals a deliberate internal strategy by Toyota to reallocate resources and focus on new brands and product lines that better aligned with their future corporate objectives. So, by 2006, Toyota made the tough decision to discontinue the Celica. It wasn't making money anymore, and its run came to a bittersweet end.